I never planned to toast the man who would ruin me, but that night the microphone found my hand before I found the truth. The rooftop pulsed with music and heat as I raised my glass, believing I was celebrating a love built on trust. 30 seconds later, the projector behind me flickered, and the crowd gasped in one long breath that tasted like metal. On the screen me boyfriend Dylan, his coat unmistakable, his mouth pressed against someone I thought was my ally. My chest locked, the city tilted, and the room of friends became a gallery of witnesses. I didn't drop the glass, I crushed it until blood slid down my wrist like a signature I'd never meant to sign. That's when the first text arrived from an unknown number. You weren't supposed to see that. Ask Dylan about the closet camera. In that instant I knew the betrayal wasn't just hiss, and the night had only begun to break. I should have kept my mouth shut when the microphone found me, but the toast was already rising in my hand like a bad decision. To Dylan I said, smiling wider than I felt, to the man who taught me what home means. The rooftop crowd clapped. Dylan winked from the bar and lifted 2 fingers, her little code for later. The projector flickered behind me. Someone was streaming photos from our year, coffee cups, road signs, our crooked selfies after flat tires. Laughter swelled, then thinned. A new clip rolled none of us had seen. First I recognized Dylan's coat. Then the angle widened, and there he was in a supply closet at my office, his hands on my boss waist, his mouth moving like a confession he never planned to give me. I didn't drop the glass. I crushed it in my palm. The sound was small and private, like something breaking in a pocket. Nobody moved at first, then everyone did. Dylan's face emptied. "Nate," he said, walking toward me with the kind of hands you use on a spooked animal. My boss stared at his shoes like the floor could absolve him. I walked not toward Dylan, not toward the exit, but into the narrow corridor behind the catering table. The projector kept playing Behind Mimi Life on loop. The wrong scene stuck. I pushed through a door and found the service stairs. My heartbeat stuttered in my ear. Down 2 flights, then 3, my hand printing small red commas on the rail. Dylan called my name from above, the voice that used to pull me back to sleep on rough mornings. I couldn't look up. If I did, I would fold. At the lobby I shoved through the exit and into the city's breath. A car horn snapped. I ignored it. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Friends, Dylan, my sister, the group chat labeled us. I powered it down with my knuckle and tossed it into a trash can, then changed my mind and fished it back out because even rage has limits when the bill is in your name. I wrapped my hand with a cocktail napkin ID somehow brought with me, a white flag already turning pink. My reflection in a dark window looked older than 30, too. Dylan had said we were building something. I pictured his hands building someone else. I walked without a destination. A bowed bell rang when I pushed in, and the clerk stared at the napkin and said nothing. I bought water and a roll of gauze and lied that it was for a friend. Outside again, I wrapped my palm slow. On a stoop I let the city drift past like a river around a stone. Overhead, music tried to heal a party that wouldn't be healed. I pressed my forehead to my knees. A message blinked from unknown. You weren't supposed to see that. I typed, "Who is this?" 3 dots bubbled, vanished, returned. Asked Dylan about the closet camera, the reply said. Ask him who installed it. I looked up at the blank sky and finally told the truth where no one could pardon me. We were never a home. We were a rented room with good lighting. The words left and didn't return. Something in dead a belief, a script, a small religion and wind moved through the vacancy. I stared at the gauze and thought about the first night Dylan stayed over. How he lined up his keys on my dresser like proof he wasted leaving. I had believed small rituals meant permanence. Maybe they only meant rehearsal. I kept hearing the room react in waves, friends rushing to smooth the air. I hated that a part of me was performing grief correctly. I walked 2 blocks before turning back, not from forgiveness, but from a need to finish the scene. I wanted to stand in front of him without shaking. I wanted to ask a simple question. If he told the truth, I could start breathing honestly. If he lied, I would have a clean edge to cut with. I started back toward the hotel without knowing why. Maybe I wanted Dylan to try. Maybe I wanted to see if I could still be the version of myself who listened. Or maybe I wanted a witness when I finally chose myself. The revolving door took me like a tide. Upstairs, The elevator opened on a corridor of people I used to trust. Dalen reached me first. Nate, please. I didn't step back. I didn't step forward. Who filmed it? I asked. He blinked. Then he lead flat, simple, practiced, I don't know. And there it was, the cleanest cut of the night. Not the clip, not the glass, not the bludgeous, that easy, polished lie. A key sliding into a lock used too many times. Whatever hadn't broken yet finally did. I held still. I didn't sleep. The party died one floor above me, then woke with whispers that felt like birds trapped in a vent. By dawn the clip was on 3 phones I never gave my number to. Consequences began as vibrations, messages, missed calls, a calendar invite from her with the subject line quick touch base. Nothing is quick when the topic is shame. I showered until the mirror turned to milk. Dylan banged on my door like late rent. Nate, please, open. I folded a towel around my bandaged hand and said nothing. He tried the soft voice, then the angry one, then the voice I used to believe. I sat on the tub edge and let each version pass like a weather report from a city I no longer lived in. At the office, heads lifted and then pretended they hadn't. My boss avoided my eyes so thoroughly he almost walked into a fern. Used words like safety and support and space, arranging them so none touched responsibility. I answered politely. At lunch, I took my sandwich 2 steps across the street. That's where the text came again, from unknown, not anonymous anymore. Can we talk? I typed, who are you? The reply, I was the one who installed the camera. I can explain. Coffee? I should have said no. Instead I wrote, name a place. 10 minutes later, gray dog, back table, half hour. The certainty in the sentence made me stand. He was there when I arrived, hands wrapped around a mug like he needed proof of warmth. Early 30s, square shoulders, watchful eyes. Cal, he said. Caleb, but everybody says Cal. He nodded at my hand. That looks worse today. His voice had the steadiness of someone trained for alarms. Who hired you? I asked. Your landlord, standard security upgrade, hallways, freight doors, inventory shelves. He waited. The one who planted the camera in the closet. Motion, triggered, it caught that. And you decided to debut it at my boyfriend's party. No, the feed syncs to a server. Someone accessed it. I learned only last night, when I saw the stream in the slideshow. I texted you the second I could. Why text me at all? I asked. Guilt, partly, mostly because I know what it's like to be humiliated in public and then treated like a scheduling conflict. He didn't look away. I wanted to put a human between you and the mess. I didn't trust the kindness, but I noticed it. His mug shook a little when he lifted it. He steadied it with the other hand. The small correction softened the air. We spoke in short lines. He explained the audit trail, the IP that looked like a hotel guest network, the narrow window between upload and projection. I heard the words but felt the music underneath, a man trying to step where my grief wouldn't crack. Why tell me your name? I asked. You could have stayed unknown because unknowns feel like traps. He hesitated. And because you looked like you were walking without a map, I touched the gauze, my pulse steadied in increments. Outside, a bus sighed and a child laughed ordinary sounds that asked nothing of me. Cal slid a napkin across. On it, a time and a storage unit address. That server mirrors to an offline drive once a day, he said. If someone pulled the clip, they might have pulled more. We can check if you want. He tapped the napkin once, like a small promise. You shouldn't go alone. I almost smiled. You don't even know me. I know what that look means. He lifted his mug toward my wrapped hand. And I know you'll pretend you don't need help until the door is too heavy. We walked out together. Side by side, the wind had a clean edge. Cal, I said, testing his name in my mouth. Why do you care? He glanced at me, then ahead. Because someone watched me fall once and didn't move. I've been waiting to be the person who moves. We crossed at the light. His shoulder brushed mine just enough to say I was not invisible. It wasn't a promise. It was a beginning that asked only permission to proceed. My breath found a rhythm I could keep. The storage facility sat under the tracks. Cal swiped us in. I mirrored the server here when your building cut corners, he said. Cheap cameras fail. Redundancy doesn't. You always talk like that. When I'm nervous, he said. We reached Unit 3. Inside, a metal rack, 2 drives, a folding chair. He handed me gloves, so I don't contaminate the audit trail. I joked. So you don't bleed, he said, nodding at my gauze. He powered up the mirror. Timestamps filled the scrutiny squares, a tiled memory of a building I suddenly hated. Closet feed, he said, access at 8:13 m from the hotel Wi-Fi, downloaded, copied, queued for projection. He paused. There's a pulled clip from the stairwell 20 minutes later. The stairwell where I ran. He nodded. Someone followed you, the camera caught their back, the footage rolled, a silhouette moved fast, the outline of Dylan's jacket. Behind him another figure entered, face lifted like he was listening for a namey boss. Pause, I said. They came after me together. Maybe they collided by accident, Cal said, but both were headed your way. You think one of them uploaded the clip, could be, or someone else used their mess. He printed a still of the second face. The ink dried slow. I folded it to a hard square. I hate that I'm shaking, I said. You're moving, he said. That's different. The drives clicked, a mechanical heartbeat. Cal checked the logs, wrote an IP range on a receipt, then shut everything down, watching the lights dim like a city going to sleep. What now? I asked. Now we lock it down, he said, and we get you through the next hour. You eaten, sandwich at noon, cardboard that went to business school. Tragic, he said. There's a place down the block where the bread forgives you. Outside, a train hammered overhead. Cal walked half a step ahead, not to lead but to buffer. At the diner we took a booth by the window. He ordered simply. While we waited he asked about the rooftop. I told him the part with the projector and the way the crowd swung between pity and curiosity. He listened. When the plates arrived, I tasted something that didn't betray me. My eyes stung. I looked away. Hey, he said. His hand hovered, then settled on the table near mine. You don't have to be brave at every angle. I don't know how to be anything else. You do, he said. You were honest in the lobby. With who? Yourself. The window held our reflections, almost a single frame. He glanced at my bandage. Can I rewrap that? I've got tape. In a diner. In a war zone with better coffee. In the bathroom he cleaned the cut with water and paper towels. He was careful, breath even. When he tightened the tape, his fingers paused on my wrist. Warmth moved from the contact into my forearm, a slow tide finding shore. That okay, he asked. It's fine, I said, but the word felt small. His knuckle brushed the skin below my thumb. The smallest spark found air. Back at the table, the quiet wasn't empty. The waitress dropped the check and a square of peppermint candy. Cal nudged the mint toward me. Emergency kit, he said, in case feelings attack. Too late, I said. We stepped into evening that couldn't decide about rain. At the corner he hesitated. I could walk you home, he said. Or not. Your call. Walk, I said. Before I could talk myself into solitude, streetlights blinked awake. Neither of us hurried speech. Our shoes kept time I could hold. Twice I laughed at nothing more than the relief of not explaining myself. We reached my building. I stopped at the steps. He read my face carefully. I don't know what to do tonight, I said. Eat the rest of that sandwich, he said. Do not disturb. Be kind to the part that wants to fix it at once. And if a nightmare shows up, text me. I'll send a boring paragraph about routers until you fall asleep. Cal, yeah, thank you. He stepped back, then forward, then stopped. The distance felt calibrated. I didn't close it. He didn't either. But when we said good night, his shoulder brushed mine, deliberate, a soft mark left where the day had taken so much. His breath touched my neck when we turned in the doorway, not a kiss, a promise of a map. Upstairs I stood in the dim kitchen and listened to the fridge hum. I slid the printed still under a magnet and left it there like evidence. I washed the diner smell off my hands. When I stretched out on the bed, I didn't wait for sleep to be kind. I waited to see if the new silence could hold. My phone lit the ceiling. A text from an unknown number. We should talk. The preview showed and initialed. I put the phone face down. A second buzz arrived. Another message from Cal. Still here. The words settled into the room. Outside, a late train passed and didn't sound like a threat. The night arranged itself around two truths, what had broken and what had started to hold. Morning found me with a steady pulse and a calendar full of apologies from people who hadn't made any. Ere book to follow up, Dylan left a voicemail that began with my name and ended with silence. I brewed coffee I didn't want and stared at the still on the fridge. My boss lifted face in the stairwell. Cal texted, "You okay for a quick check on something?" I replied, "Yes." He sent and addressed me off-ice parking garage, level 2. I told myself I was going for closure. I went because he asked. The garage breathed cold. Cal stood by a pillar, a tablet under his arm. The hotel wife. "Fi logs were dirty," he said, but I pulled a Mac from the closet cam's handshake. It matched a device that pinged this garage last night. Whose device? He turned the tablet. A name filled the screen. Calibro. I laughed once. Sharp. That's a joke. It's my work phone, he said. It connected when I followed the upload. I was trying to stop it. You were at the hotel. Yes, he said. I saw the clip in the queue. I went to kill the feed, but by then he let the sentence die. Why didn't you tell me you were there? Because it sounds like I made it happen. He held my gaze. I didn't. Show me the rest. He opened an email thread. The sender was a burner. Subject, contract extension. The last message offered money for a guaranteed moment of truth at a rooftop event. Attached, access points in my building, including the supply closet. Someone hired you, I said. No. He shook his head. They tried. I didn't respond, but they had details only a vendor would know. They could have pulled them from an old estimate. He swallowed. From mine, your estimate to install a camera in the closet. In the hallway, he said quickly. The closet was an ad on later. I pushed back and still installed it. It was legal, he said. Stupid, but legal. Did you ever work for my boss? No. Dial in. His silence arrived like weather. Cal, we dated, he said. Years ago. He lied. I moved on. I didn't know he was your boyfriend until the party. The ground shifted. You could have told me last night. I wanted to, he said. I waited for the right minute. There isn't one. He put the tablet away. I'm still on your side. The man who installed the camera that caught my boyfriend with my boss, who also used the hotel Y. By the night it played in front of everyone. He's on my side. Yes. He said, get out of my garage, I said. He nodded once. If you need me, I want. On the way up, my phone vibrated. Daylan, please talk. I answered anyway. Conference room, noon. Bring honesty. At noon he arrived with red eyes and the jacket from the stairwell. He sat, clasped his hands, unclasped them. I panicked, he said. I ran after you. He ran after me. Who uploaded it? I don't know. Don't lie. I don't. He looked up. Ask your security guy. My security guy. Cal, he said. He's not your angel. He offered me a deal months ago, said the building needed upgrades. Then he asked about the closet. He knew exactly where to point a lens, proof. He slid a screenshot across the table, an old text from an unknown number arranging a walk through at off hours. The style matched the burner email. My stomach drew tight. Dial in, I said. Did you sleep with my boss before or after that text? A flinch. Before, and you planned to tell me when it stopped meaning anything, he said. It never stopped. Truth collected in corners like dust. I stood. We're done. He nodded. Outside, cold light polished the sidewalk. My phone buzzed again, Cal. I let it ring. Another ping followed, a new unknown. If you want the name of the uploader, come alone to Unit 3 at 8. Bring no one, come or keep guessing. I stared at the message until it became a door. Then I put the phone in my pocket and felt how heavy a choice can be before you lift it. Tonight by 7:30, I rehearsed a dozen exits and chose the one that moved forward. I pocketed a sticky note that said do not beg and walked to the storage facility. Unit 3 smelled like warm dust. I left the row, leapt door at shoulder height, a pre-made escape. I came alone, I said. Smart, a voice answered. A man stepped from behind the rack, hood low, mask cheap and bold. He lifted a phone showing my face mid, toast on the rooftop. You can keep this from becoming a franchise. Name Reese, he said, the landlord's nephew. 6 months of mirrored feeds live here. Hallways, doors, offstage mistakes. Pay me 20 grand and sign that you want Sue. I'll bury the rest. You filmed people without consent. I curated moments the world was going to eat anyway, he said. He swiped. Neighbors fighting, a laundry room kiss, me in the stairwell clutching air. I want bankroll my humiliation. Then the drip begins, he said, pocketing the phone. A box cutter slid into his hand bright. He stepped back from the drives, metal rasped. The door rose another inch. A shadow ducked under. Stop, I said, too late. Cal straightened, palms open. Evening, Reese. You weren't invited. I have terrible manners with extortionists, Cal said, drifting between us, just present. And you're on camera. He tipped his head toward a puck on the ceiling. Unit security. Reese glanced up and swore. Delete it. Not from here, Cal said. And there's off-site. Reese's eyes cut to me. Pick a side, pay or pray. Neither, I said, surprised at my calm. Hand over your emails and walk away from this, then hope I prefer grace to court. You don't have the teeth, he said, and lunged. Time narrowed to blade breath, and the thud of my own name in my chest. Cal caught Reese's wrist, turned the box cutter, skittered under the rack. Reese snatched a drive, I shoved the rack with my wrapped hand. A cable tore, free a power strip coughed smoke. The puck flashed red. Sirens started somewhere outside, like the future sprinting to meet us. You called them, Reese hissed. You triggered them, Cal said, nodding at the heat sensor's crimson blink. Reese bolted for the door. I slid into the opening on instinct. He feinted left, I matched him for a beat. We were kids in a hallway. Cal locked both of Reese's arms from behind. Fight drained out of him all at once. Look at me, I said. You will hand over everything and message every tenant you hurt. If not, I make a project of you. He spat near my shoe, then nodded thinly. Survival had its own grammar. The sirens swelled, then fell away. False alarm, or someone else's emergency. The puck cooled to green. Cal dropped the box cutter into a drawer and exhaled. You okay? So no, I said, but present. You're bleeding again. I said, and the laugh that escaped was more honesty than humor. He wrapped my hand with a steadiness that slowed the room. His breath moved against my temple. His fingers paused at my wrist warmth, traveled up my arm like a tide finding shore. Reese won't stop, I said. No, Cal said, but he knows your name now, not just your file path. What am I up against? People who look without caring, he said. And your reflex to forgive before an apology arrives. Trying not to be that man. I noticed. We killed the power safely and slid the door down. Outside, air tasted like metal and aftershock. Cal kept half a step closer, old distance now charged. I was furious with you this morning, I said. Still a little. You get to be, and I wanted you here tonight, I admitted. Even when the text said alone. I wanted to arrive first and change the lock, he said. It wouldn't have stopped you. No, I said. I go through. We stopped under the tracks. A train rolled over like a long thought. I reached for his wrist. His hand turned. Our fingers met quiet contact. Not victory, not surrender. A room quietly opening. Unwise, I asked. Probably, he said. Choosing it with my eyes open. He walked me home. At my stoop, he scanned the street like a habit he couldn't put down. Text me if he returns. Who, any of them, he said. The past keeps spare keys. Inside, I leaned against the door and listened to my pulse negotiate a new contract. My phone lit. We need to talk, from my boss. Another. Check your email for the contract, Reese. Under both, a smaller light. You okay? Cal, I typed I am and hovered over send. Then another message arrived from a number I knew too well. I didn't upload it. Meet me and I'll prove it. Dylan. An address. Follow at a hotel 2 blocks from the rooftop. Time stamped now. I stared at the screen until the choices arranged themselves like doors. The train rattled the glass. I sent Cal my location, slid the phone into my pocket, and stepped back into the night that kept asking what kind of man I was willing to be. I told myself I went to the hotel for facts, not absolution. The lobby smelled like lemon and old secrets. Daylan waited by the elevator in the jacket I bought him last winter, the cuffs still too long, the look still effective on people who weren't me. You came, he said. You said proof. He led me to a corner suite facing the rooftop where our year had been cut open. On the table, a laptop, 2 key cards, water arranged like an apology. I didn't upload it, he said. I chased you into the stairwell. He followed because he thought I'd break things. Who did then? He opened the laptop. An email sat on the screen. A burner to the hotels of vendor with a clip attached in the subject. Play at 9 exactly. No name, just a small carved triangle. I've seen that mark, Dylan said. On a toolbox. Kells. You're reaching, I said. He didn't tell you we dated. Dylan's tone gathered needles. He likes disasters that make him the hero. Show me metadata, I said. Header, hotel guest network. Device, unknown. Strings that meant less than the knot in my chest. Why call me here alone? I asked. Because you listen when the room is quiet, he said. Because you used to know the difference between my fear and my lies. A knock, 3 quick, 1 slow. Daylan frowned and opened the door. Cal stood there, reading the scene the way divers raid currents. You shared your location, he said. You were walking into a story that edits its own ending. Dylan laughed without humor. The locksmith arrives. Step back from him, Cal told me, eyeing the laptop. He's showing me proof, I said. Cal studied the header, then the triangle. Not mine, he said. That's Rias, a landlord's nephew. He scratches that triangle into anything he thinks he owns. Reese played us, I said. Footsteps scuffed outside. The suite door swung inward. Reese slipped in with a grin that had never met a consequence. He waved a phone. New terms, I duplicated the drives before you made me promise. There's more than a closet. There's you at air. There's this room. And there's a board packet where your boss recommends firing you. A breach you didn't cause. Cal moved. Dylan moved. I reached the table and closed the laptop like I could trap outcomes inside. What do you want? I asked. Publicity, Reese said, but ill settle for the board file. Your company loves a scapegoat in a good sweater. You'll ruin me to hurt him. I said, picturing my boss' careful hair and careful cowardice. Collateral makes the best headlines. He tossed a flash drive to the carpet. Backup from this afternoon. Watch before the board does. He slipped out as cheaply as Head entered. I plugged the drive in. A boardroom appeared, a runway to judgment. My boss presented slides about unauthorized access and misuse of systems. Each bullet was a trap shaped like me. The last slide, termination, effective immediately. A second clip followed. Dylan in that closet weeks ago, whispering, hell forgive me, he always does. And my boss answering, then he deserves what he tolerates. All the air went thin. I didn't know he recorded that, Dylan said. I didn't know ID become the excuse. They are about to make you pay for their mess, Cal said. Not they, I said. I pointed at the screen, then at the ghost of myself who always folded. I closed the laptop. No more. Nate, Dylan said, palm hovering near my arm, the old map of comfort. I let it hover. I didn't let it land. I loved you, I said. That love, duh. Get to write the rules anymore. Cal watched me like you watch a bridge hold after an earthquake. Tomorrow I walk into that boardroom with this drive and a timeline, I said. I use my voice, not my apology. And tonight, Cal asked. Tonight I stop performing mercy for people who confuse it for permission. Dylan sat, small in a chair too big for forgiveness. I opened the door. Cal joined me. The ceiling camera's tiny lens stared down hungry. I stared back and didn't blink. Cold air met us on the sidewalk. Cal's shoulder brushed mine, deliberate. You don't have to face them alone, he said. I know, I said. Knowledge didn't feel like rescue. It felt like ground. We walked without speaking. At my building I stopped. If you come upstairs, I said, it's not to fix me. I don't fix people, he said. I sit with them until they fix themselves. Stay. Upstairs the quiet felt alive. He boiled water. I found 2 clean mugs and a new bandage. When he wrapped my hand, his fingers paused at my pulse. His breath touched my neck, warm as a decision finally made. Not a kiss, not yet. A closeness that didn't borrow from the future. A promise that didn't need a signature. Before he left the kitchen, he set his phone face down. No alerts, only presence. We drank slowly. When the kettle clicked, apartment felt rearranged without moving a thing. I slept, not because the night forgave me, but because I finally did so. Morning light arrived like a quiet verdict. I woke before the alarm. Cal asleep in the chair. Head refused to trade for my bed. His chest rose in slow, deliberate rhythm, the kind you keep when you've survived a storm. I dressed in silence, slipped the flash drive into my pocket, and left a note on the table. Back soon. Keep the kettle warm. The boardroom was colder than the night before. My boss tried to begin the meeting, but I placed the drive in the center of the table and said, play everything. They did. Every secret, every clip, every timeline scrolled across the screen until no one could look away. When it ended, no one moved. No one fired me. No one apologized either. Outside, the city kept its usual pulse. I walked without plan, past the rooftop where it started, past the diner where Cal first steadied my shaking hand. My phone buzzed once. Dylan, I'm sorry, I let it fade. Another buzz. Cal, you okay? I answered only, still standing. At sunset I returned home. Cal was still there, chair pulled close to the window. He looked at me, searching for something unspoken. Did it change anything? He asked. Enough, I said. Not everything. We stood a breath apart. The space between us felt like a choice we could make or leave unsolved. His hand brushed mine warmth. Nothing claimed, nothing promised. Outside, sirens wailed and faded. Inside, the quiet stretched, alive and uncertain. I didn't know if this was the start of us or just the end of them. For the first time, that uncertainty felt like freedom.